Let's move on now and shift our focus to India. The ruling National Democratic Alliance takes a lead as counting gets underway in India's third most populous state of Bihar. Now, this lead came after early results showed a close fight between the NDA and the opposition's Grand Alliance led by the Rashtriya Janata Dal and the Congress Party. The results will decide whether Bihar will get a new Chief Minister in Tejaswi Yadav or the incumbent Chief Minister Nitish Kumar will hold the office for his fourth term. Bihar is India's third most populous state with a population of more than 100 million people. The three-phase Bihar elections were the first to be conducted among the coronavirus pandemic rising numbers. And the Election Commission of India has set up 55 counting centres in all the 38 districts of the state. A three-layer security system has been provided at various counting centres. Bihar recorded 57.05% turnout in the assembly elections this time, marginally higher than that observed in 2015 despite the coronavirus pandemic. For more insights, WION's political editor Kartikeya Sharma is joining us live for more. Kartikeya, a very good afternoon to you and thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about the voting turnout witnessed in the first election to take place in India in the pandemic. Now, despite rising COVID-19 numbers, the voter turnout has been massive. So what does this say about the state's politics?
I think there are two things here. One, the voting turnout being higher also shows that both political parties, the alliance of the RJD, which is known as Mahagathbandhan, and the alliance of Bharatiya Janata Party in JDU, they were able to mobilize a lot of voters. And despite COVID-19 and despite the fact that people feared for their own health safety, they came out and became part of the political process because this is the first major election to have happened during COVID-19. Now, Bihar in itself is supposed to be a sort of a bellwether state, or Bihar is supposed to be, one can say, an important state. In 2015, NDA lost both Delhi and Bihar, and subsequently there was great, coming together of the regional parties. Though the results of 2019 were different, but this time around, though the BJP plus or JDU plus is in lead, but the fact that it was a close contest, a lot of participation took place. The voting turnout also showed that the political constituencies opposed to Modi, for Modi, they came out in large numbers, which means that, despite a pandemic like COVID-19, the political process, which is so important in democracy, remains unaffected, which is a very good thing.
Right. So, Kartikeya, tell us a little bit more about the main factors that may have swayed voters to vote differently in this election.
I think two things happened. The first was that there was no baggage for Tejaswi Yadav. There was no poster of Lalu Prasad Yadav, who is a convict now, who is serving his sentence. He didn't have posters of his family because there are political baggage. He spoke about the politics of employment. He didn't speak about politics of social justice, which is based on caste. He didn't speak about, the politics of pandering to the minority sentiments, of which Lalu Prasad Yadav was accused continuously for 15 years. So, he was fighting election on a new plank completely. So it was very difficult for BJP to pin him down because he was asking questions and he was fighting elections against Nitish Kumar and not Bharatiya Janata Party and BJP, which is fundamentally a very important decision he made. Bharatiya Janata Party, on the other hand, was talking about the sort of rule which Bihar witnessed during Lalu Prasad Yadav, which saw a lot of migration of upper castes, which also saw a lot of social unrest, rural lawlessness. So, these were the factors which were at play. And that is why I would say that this election became important, because earlier Nitish Kumar was Chief Minister with the help of RJD and Congress. And then a break came before 2019 Lok Sabha elections and he went back to NDA. So that way, I think it's very important for India to see how Bihar behaves. Because if BJP and Nitish Kumar are able to wrest this state, then I think the results will tell a very different story. For example, the way Democrats Democrats have won America, though the transition is going to be very, very messy there. COVID-19 played a part, but in India, despite COVID-19 issues, if they are able to retain Bihar, I think it tells a very different story.
Right. Karthikeyan, my final question. Tell us a little bit about the trends here. The ruling NDA has, of course, surged ahead of the opposition alliance of the Rashtriya Janata Dal, the Congress and left parties, moving above the halfway mark after a close fight. So what does this mean for the state's political future?
I think, there are three very important takeaways. One, BJP has emerged as the single largest party. If you look at the rise of Bharatiya Janata Party post-1996, it was with the help of the regional parties. Atal Bihari Vajpayee forged NDA with 22 regional parties. Now, you don't even have half a dozen regional parties with Bharatiya Janata Party because Bharatiya Janata Party has become the new Congress in India. They have become the largest party in Bihar. They have become a force to reckon in a state where there used to be a junior partner, like for example Haryana, or there were non-players in Assam, or they were very junior to Shiv Sena in Maharashtra. So they have become players all over India, barring states on the eastern board, which is Odisha, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. That's the eastern part of India. So BJP is a non-player there. It's trying to be a player there. So Bihar, it has made that difference. Second important thing is that Tejaswi Yadav has become leader in his own right. Chirag Paswan did not do well, whose father, a union minister, passed away recently. So unlike Chirag, Tejaswi has been able to establish himself as a regional leader. Left parties very surprisingly have done well. I think the loser here is the Congress party. Out of 70 seats, Congress has not been able to cross the tally of 25, 26 leads. They fought 40 seats last time, got 27. This time they fought 70 seats and they have not been able to cross 25. So it shows that the idea of taking on a hegemonic central power, which is very, very unique, Priyanka, is being done by regional party once again. If you recall what happened in 1970s or 67 in Indian politics, regional parties came together to take on Indira Gandhi in state and in the central politics. Swatantra Party, other national parties failed. Similarly, this time around, the so-called political challenge to BJP is not coming from the National Congress Party or national left. It is coming from the regional parties. And I think that's a very important part of Indian politics, that in a federal structure, you might have a dominant national party, but the regional parties will continue to be there to have a say in what happens in New Delhi.
Absolutely. Karthikeyan, thank you so much for all your insights and thank you for joining us on this broadcast. We'll of course come back to you for more as soon as the results are announced.